The sheriff handed me an eviction notice, and the signature at the bottom was my son's. I stared at the paper while the pot on my stove hissed and the smell of stew turned sour in my mouth. The sheriff wouldn't meet my eyes. He said, "Ma'am," like he wished he could be anywhere else, and pointed to the space where Ethan had signed. My son. My only boy. The same boy I once rocked through the night when his lungs sounded like creaky doors. The same boy who used to hide in my rose bushes and pretend he was a lion. That boy's name told me to get out of my own house. I set the ladle down so I wouldn't throw it. "There must be a mistake," I said. "This is my home." He grimaced and rubbed his neck. "I don't doubt that, ma'am. But you need to talk to your son." I closed the door, locked it, and then leaned my forehead against the wood. The stew bubbled behind me. The house creaked the way old houses do, a soft settling. Outside, the wind moved through Jack's rose garden, rattling the weather chimes like a warning. You might wonder when a son decides to take his mother's house. You might think it happens in one cruel leap. It doesn't. It happens in whispers. It happens in favors. It happens with a hand at your elbow, guiding you, ever so gentle, right off the edge. 3 months earlier, Ethan had come by with Sienna, his wife. Ethan brought me coffee, sweetened just the way I like it, and Sienna brought her camera for pictures of the roses. We sat on the back steps, the sunlight warm as butter, and Ethan cleared his throat twice. "Mom," he said, "let's talk about the house." I knew what was coming. I'd known since Jack died a year before. People smell fresh grief the way crows smell shiny things. They all gather round. Sienna smiled and crossed her legs. She had these high-heeled sandals that clicked when she walked, like a mechanical heart. "It would just be smart," she said, "to put it in Ethan's name now. You know, for taxes. For planning. Everyone does it." "I'm not everyone," I said. "And I'm not dying today." Ethan laughed, but it was tight. "No one thinks that. We just want to protect you. The neighborhood is changing, Mom. Investors. You don't even have an alarm system." "I have Mr. Reyes across the street," I said. "He's a Marine. He knows when a leaf falls. He watches for me." Sienna's smile slipped. She is not the type who likes people she can't control. "Ethan will inherit anyway, why not spare probate? Why not make it easy?" "Because this house held my whole life and I was not done living in it. Because the morning sun still chased across Jack's bookshelves like a cat. Because the bathroom tile still felt cold on my feet at dawn. Because I still reached for the spice drawer on the right, though last year I moved it to the left. Because the sound of the stairs was the exact sound of my children coming home, and some things are not a line item to move around on a spreadsheet." "No," I said. "Not now." Ethan looked at me like I'd just turned into someone rude at a party. He stood and walked to the roses. The roses were Jack's pride. He had names for them. We called the deep red one Mrs. Carter, for the neighbor who wore the ruby lipstick, and the yellow one Sunburn, because it always bloomed after too long rain. Ethan touched Mrs. Carter, gentle as if it could bite. When he turned back, his mouth was stubborn. "It's my mouth too, that shape, iron, when it wants to be." "Okay," he said. "We won't push." He didn't push that day. He pushed the next week and the next. He came over to fix things that weren't broken. He took my old power of attorney papers from the file drawer, just to scan them. He told me I seemed tired. That I'd repeated myself. He said I'd left the front door open, which I hadn't. He told me stories about scams and kids who let their mothers get robbed. He texted, "Mom, we need to be smart." He texted, "We're a team." We are a team, I thought. We always had been. When Jack was sick, Ethan came to mow the lawn. He brought groceries. He slept overnight when I couldn't remember if I'd taken my pills. But then Jack died, and teams change. The day I understood it had taken a turn was the day I found the empty bottle in the trash and the pills counted wrong. My arthritis meds, 10 short. I knew I hadn't taken them. I'm not perfect, but I'm not clueless. I called Mr. Reyes. He came over with his notebook like a detective. He's 73 and likes to take notes on everything. "You mark your bottles," he said. I did. I put a tiny scratch on each cap. Then I put one bottle in the pantry behind the flour and one in my purse. I locked the cupboard. The next week, the bottle in the cupboard was missing entirely. I didn't confront Ethan then. I felt sick. A mother does not want to lay that down in front of her child. You want there to be another explanation. A careless helper. A thief who came in a window. A trick of memory. But the door was locked. Only 3 people had keys, me, Ethan, and Sienna. I did what we do when we've lived long enough to know we can be broken. I started to plan, even as my heart broke. I went to church on Thursday and spoke with Molly, who'd worked at the county recorder's office before she retired. Her hair is white and she wears reading glasses on a chain. She listened to me, then said, "You need a good lawyer." "I can't afford one," I said. "Legal aid," she said. "And a free consultation from a hungry one." She patted my hand. "You'll be surprised how many people want to fight for a woman who refuses to be shoved out of her own front door." So, I went to see a lawyer named Mr. Patel. His office smelled like cinnamon chewing gum and printer ink. And the fluorescent light buzzed like a nasty little mosquito. He had kind eyes, direct, like a man who's seen both good and bad and prefers good. I told him everything. He asked questions no one in my family had asked me in months. "Do you have any old power of attorney documents?" He said, "Yes," I said. "I signed one when Jack had his second surgery. Ethan was helping me. I let him keep a copy so he could talk to the insurance." My voice went small. "We needed help." "Did you revoke it after?" he asked. I stared at him. I didn't know I could or should. He sighed in a way that wasn't mean. "Okay. We'll revoke it now. Today. We'll record it. We'll put a fraud alert with the county recorder. We will also consider a living trust, which will keep things out of probate but in your control while you're alive." He leaned forward. "And, Nora? Stop leaving keys under the frog statue. Everyone knows about the frog." I laughed, and then I cried. He gave me tissues and not once did he look at his phone. We worked. We recorded. We set up the Rose Garden Trust, because I needed the roses in the name somehow, and because Jack would have liked it. Everything still belonged to me while I drew breath, and I appointed Molly as co-trustee. She has a backbone like cathedral wood. That same day, I changed my locks. I left the old frog in the garden. Let them look, then I waited. Ethan's first move was small. He texted a picture of a "for sale" sign he said he could get for cheap. "When you're ready," he wrote. "I can help you move somewhere safer." I wrote back a smiley face and a heart, the way he liked me to respond. I asked about my granddaughter, B, who was 8 and had already learned how to read my face the way I read the weather. He sent a picture of B eating spaghetti, sauce on her mouth, the heartbreak and hope of my life. His second move was bigger. He came over with Sienna and 2 men I didn't know, both in polos with neat hair. "Mom," he said, "too bright, we have a notary." "A what?" I asked, steady, "just in case you want to sign. It's not a big deal. We can fix it if you change your mind," Sienna said, teeth bare like a smile she'd learned in a class. They put papers on my kitchen table. The table where I'd put out birthday cakes and burned a hole once with a hot pan. I still keep a doily over that burn. They lined up the pens. The men opened their briefcases and tried not to look bored. I stepped into the hall, pretending I'd left my glasses in my purse. I pulled out my phone and sent one word to Mr. Patel. "Now." He called within a minute. "I'm 3 blocks away," he said. "Don't sign." "I won't," I whispered. "No one signs in my kitchen without me reading every word." I went back in and put the papers aside. "Coffee?" I asked, and poured it slow, letting the quiet fill every space. The notary looked at his watch. Sienna looked at me and then at Ethan. Ethan looked at the photos on the wall, Jack holding a fish. Me in a dress I've never fit into since. B as a baby on my chest. He swallowed. Mr. Patel knocked on the door like a drum. He came in polite and crisp. The notary blinked when he saw him. "I'm Ms. Gordon's attorney," Mr. Patel said. That word, attorney, hung in the air like a neon sign. Sienna rolled her eyes. "Oh, great. Ma'am," the notary said to me, "we can't proceed if you can't proceed anyway," Mr. Patel said. "Ms. Gordon has revoked all previous powers and any transfer without her consent will be void. She will not be signing today." Ethan flushed. "Mom, we're trying to help." "No," I said, and the word felt like a stone that had been waiting under my tongue. I looked at Ethan. "I won't sign my house to you because your wife can't stop buying things online. I won't sign my house to you because your business partners make promises they don't keep. I won't sign my house to you because you are my son and you don't take things from your mother. You ask. You wait. You earn." Sienna stood up so fast the chair scraped the floor. "We don't need this drama. We were doing you a favor. Do you know what your house is worth? Do you know what a roof costs?" "I know what a roof costs," I said softly. I paid for this one after Jack died. Ethan stared at me. For a second, I saw my boy, the one who once brought me a pocketful of acorns because he thought the tree needed them. Then his face closed. He said nothing. They left with their papers and their notary. I poured myself tea and finally let my legs shake. 2 weeks later, the sheriff knocked with the eviction notice. They had found another way. Ethan had taken the old power of attorney, the one I'd signed when Jack was ill, and used it to file a transfer behind my back. The county flagged it as a possible fraud because of Mr. Patel's alert, but paperwork, like a lazy river, moves whether you like it or not. The sheriff had to serve notice. I took a photo of the paper and sent it to Mr. Patel. He called the clerk and then he called me. "Don't leave your house," he said. "We're going to court. We'll freeze everything. Can you meet me in the morning?" "I can," I said, and hung up, and then I did something I'd not done since I was a young mother. I got on my knees by the couch and prayed, not pretty, not fancy. "Lord," I said, "you gave me a voice. Let me use it." Court wasn't the grand drama you see in movies. It was a low-ceiling room with gray carpet, papers stacked like small towers. It's true what they say, justice wears ordinary shoes. Mr. Patel presented the revocation. He had copies with stamps and dates. He had the trust papers. He had one more thing I didn't know he had, the Ring camera footage of Ethan and Sienna in my entryway the week the pills went missing. In the video, Ethan smiles up at the camera, unaware. Sienna glances away, then holds out her hand for the key I'd tucked under the frog before Mr. Patel scolded me. The judge watched it twice. "I want to be clear," the judge said. "Ms. Gordon, you revoked the power before this transfer was filed?" "Yes," I said. "We filed the revocation. We mailed notice to my son. To his address and his business." The judge turned to Ethan, who'd come alone. "Sienna didn't like rooms she doesn't control. My son looked small in that big chair." "Mr. Gordon," the judge said, "do you have counsel?" "No," Ethan said. "I didn't think." He stopped. "Your mother is protected by law," the judge said. "You don't get to decide she is incompetent because it suits you. If you have concerns, you file the proper petition. You do not file a transfer behind her back. This court sets aside the transfer as void. Ms. Gordon, you will not be evicted." The gavel was a small sound, but it knocked something loose in my chest that had been stuck there for months. I wanted to look at Ethan, to catch his eye, to say something that would take us back. I couldn't find it. That night, I slept like a woman who has been holding her breath for a very long time. I woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of bees in the roses. The story could have ended there. It didn't. A week later, Ethan came by when the light was low, that evening gold that makes everything look forgiven. He stood on my porch. He did not come in. Mr. Patel had helped me get a restraining order that said Ethan had to call before he came. He had to be polite. He had to be my child again if he wanted to cross my threshold. He held his hands like a boy who doesn't know where to rest them. "I'm in trouble," he said. "I borrowed against the house." "You didn't have the house," I said. "I told them I did," he said, and laughed that awful laugh that isn't a laugh. "I promised a bank manager. I promised Sienna we'd be in a new place by Christmas. I put a deposit down on a build. Non-refundable. I thought." He looked up at the roofs along our street, the antennas like metal flowers, the trees that have seen all our seasons. "I thought you'd do what mothers always do and just give in." "I am a mother," I said. "That does not mean I have to be a fool." He flinched. "He is still my boy. He can't hide from my words any more than I can hide from his." "We're losing everything," he said. "Sienna's furious. She says I promised her a house, a life." He swallowed. "She says I promised her an elevator, Mom. In a 2-story house. She has a Pinterest board." I couldn't help it. I laughed, and then I covered my mouth. "An elevator?" He laughed too, and that sound, brief, true, cut me like a blessing and a knife. "I need money," he said, and there it was. The true ask. The real door through which all the others had come. I looked at him. I saw the boy with the acorns. I saw the man who had done me harm. Both were standing on my porch, not sure where to put their hands. "I will not give you the house," I said. And he nodded like he knew. "I will not give you money to fix what you broke," I said. And he closed his eyes. "But I will give you dinner," I said, and he opened them. "And after you eat, you will call a counselor. And after that, you will call the bank and tell the truth. And after that, you will call your wife and tell her the elevator can wait." He blinked fast. Tears, my son, on my porch, in the evening light. He nodded again. I made him spaghetti with the sauce I know he loves, the one with the basil Jack dried and saved. He ate like a man who'd been starving for something besides food. After, I slid a piece of paper across the table. A list. Names of a debt counselor, a therapist, a men's group at church. The number for Mr. Patel, who had told me he'd help if Ethan ever decided to be brave. You will pay me back, I said. Not in money. In boundaries. In showing up on time, in being your daughter's father, in not taking things that aren't yours. If you do that, maybe one day we will talk about inheritances. Maybe one day the house will be yours in the way old things deserve to be given, not grabbed. He wiped his mouth. He looked at the photos on the wall. He looked at Jack's chair, empty but present. He looked at me. I'm sorry, he said. Sorry, I said gently, is the first step. The next steps hurt more. He took them. Not fast. Not clean. He broke up with Sienna 3 weeks later after she smashed a vase because the elevator had become a joke even among her friends. B, my honey child, started spending half her time with me. She helped me deadhead the roses. Which one is your favorite? I asked her. She pointed to Mrs. Carter. The red one, she said. It looks like it could fight. Ethan started going to the debt counselor. He went to the men's group and sat in the back and listened for 3 weeks before he spoke. He got a new job delivering medical supplies. It wasn't glamorous, but the steady rhythm of it softened his shoulders and his jaw. He apologized again. He apologized to Mr. Reyes too. He apologized to the notary and to coworkers he'd snapped at during the worst of it. He called the bank and told them he'd lied. He lost the deposit. He learned how that feels. We had hard nights. He would call me and say, I messed up today, and I would say, okay, fix it, and he would. He rang the doorbell every time. He never lifted the frog. When winter came, the roses went bare and dark, and still I went out and spoke to them. Jack used to say they know when you love them. I brushed the snow off the brambles and told them the truth. My son had tried to take my house. The court had stopped it. My daughter-in-law had left. My granddaughter was sleeping in the room that had once been nursery pink. The neighborhood still creaked and sighed around us. I had kept what was mine. One afternoon in January, there was another knock. It was Sienna. She wore a coat with a fur hood that made her look like a fox. She looked past me, like she always did, like she was shopping with her eyes. I'm just here to get B's jacket, she said. It's on the hook, I said, and waited. She did not apologize. She did not ask to come in. She took the jacket and left. 2 months later, B drew a picture in school of her family. She drew me with big round arms and Ethan with a bent neck and herself between us like a star. She did not draw her mother. It crushed me, how children carry our choices in crayons. So I called Sienna. I told her she was invited, not to the house, not yet, but to the park. She came. We sat on a bench and watched B hang from the monkey bars. Sienna's hands were restless. She kept touching her phone. I told her about a counselor for her too. I don't need therapy, she said, which told me everything. I won't fight you for B, I said. But I will fight you if you use her like a pawn. I will fight you with every breath in my body if you put her in danger. She rolled her eyes. You're so dramatic. I am 60, I said. Drama is my right. She laughed despite herself. You sound like my mother. You should call her, I said, and Sienna's mouth went small at once. Not everyone has a mother you can call. I forget that sometimes. We said nothing else. B ran to us and wrapped her arms around my waist. Heaven, in a 12-second hug, spring came and the roses woke up. Mrs. Carter bloomed early and bold. We had a barbecue in the yard, and Mr. Reyes wore an apron that said, "Kiss the chef," and took that invitation very seriously with every cheek he could find. Ethan brought a cheap bouquet from the market because he didn't dare cut my bushes without asking. He asked to weed. He asked to trim. He asked to take out the trash. He asked permission for small things like they were practice for asking permission for larger ones. On the anniversary of the day the sheriff brought the paper, Ethan stood in my kitchen and put his hand flat on the table. He looked at me like a diver looks at water. "Thank you for not giving me the house," he said. It saved me. I thought about all the ways we save each other. How sometimes saving looks like a warm meal and sometimes it looks like a courtroom and a locked door. I thought about letting go and holding on and how the line between them is a lesson you learn over and over. I am your mother, I said. I will not always be your friend. Sometimes I will be your wall. He nodded. He wiped his face. He washed the dishes. People still ask me why I didn't just give him the house. They say, he's your only son. You can't take it with you. Maybe they never stood with a paper in their hand, their name scrawled by their own child on a line that says get out. Maybe they never paid a roof cost alone. Maybe they think love is the same as surrender. It isn't. I am still in my house. My windows are still stubborn to open in April. The floor under the dining table still has the burn mark. The roses still bloom and then sleep and then bloom again. Ethan has a small apartment now with a couch he bought used and a calendar on the wall where he marks his meetings. He and B planted herbs on his balcony. The basil is thriving. We talk about the day he will get the house. It will be years from now, if life allows. It will be handed to him with a ceremony so small and so huge it will feel like church. He will not take it. He will receive it. There is a difference. Sometimes I catch him looking at the frog statue. He grins. I grin back. We grin like people who almost lost something they couldn't bear to lose. If you had told me a year ago that my son would betray me, I would have said never. If you had told me I would forgive him, I would have said I don't know how. But here we are. Some days my hands still shake when I put the key in my own door. Some nights I still wake and check the locks, listening for footsteps that don't come. Healing is not a straight line. It never is. When I pass the rose named Mrs. Carter, I run my fingers over her petals. She feels strong, even when she looks delicate. Jack used to say she fought for the light. So do I. So does my son, now, in his own stumble-footed way. And if you are listening to this, if your heart is heavy because someone you love tried to take from you what you built with your own 2 hands, hear me, you are not cruel to say no. You are not wrong to hold your ground. Love without boundaries is not love. It is hunger. If you stand like a wall today, maybe tomorrow, someone you love will learn to stand like a wall too. And maybe, on a summer evening when the stew is simmering and the wind is soft, you'll sit across a kitchen table from the person who hurt you and see in the angle of their mouth not just what they did, but what they can still be. I refused to give my son the house, so he decided to take it. He regretted it. But I did not win because he regretted it. I won because I remembered who I was, and I refused to move. I stayed. And I am still here. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story.